Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Last night, of course, was Monday Night Raw, where we had a dream match, a surprise dream match, between Gunther and Kevin Owens, a World Heavyweight Championship defense by Seth Rollins, and a lot more. And we're going to get into all of this today. But joining me to discuss it all, firstly, Clark Taylor. How are you today, Clark?
What's going on? I'm back again. I feel much better after this wedding weekend. I've finally fully recovered. And Raw last night was surprisingly fun. The dream match you mentioned, I really enjoyed. Can't wait to get into that. And I'm stoked to be back once again with both David and Dryzzy. Not to bury the lead on your intros, but I'm stoked to be back with all the guys. This is a blast.
First, your gimmick was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Then it was being screwed in the quiz. Then it was not liking Cody Rhodes. And now it's stealing my intros, Clark. But also joining us, as Clark pointed out, David Sheldon. How are you today, David?
I am good. Thank you very much for having me for the fourth day in a row. I promise today is the last one for a few days. I'm back on Sunday. This is my last day for a bit. So, you know, your regularly scheduled programming will soon return. It was a really fun episode of Raw. Some issues, which we'll get to, but three terrific matches and some good stuff elsewhere on the card. So I'm excited to get into it.
There absolutely was. And last but certainly not least, Dryzzy.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be back. Is it just me, or do you feel like Triple H was listening to us last week? Because we kind of talked really bad about Raw last week. And then this week, oh, I got you guys. You guys are going to get dream match after dream match. You're going to get indie dream match. You're going to get five-star, well, I ain't going to say five-star classics, but great, entertaining match. It was a good Raw. It's the best Raw I've seen since Mania. Of the Mania, this year's Mania era.
Yeah, no, it's certainly, I think you can make a very strong argument for that. I'm going to get into it now and break it down segment by segment. And let's first of all talk about the women's Money in the Bank qualifying matches, as we had a few of those last night. Well, a couple of those, with the first one being Becky Lynch taking on Sonya Deville. And Chelsea Green, of course, you know, she's been in a tag team with Sonya Deville over the past couple of months. She was very much involved in this match, so Becky kind of had to take on two women, not just one. And I think this was, you know, perhaps foreshadowing the Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark feud going forward. However, then they came out too, but they just stood up on the top of the stage. Becky got the win after having to take out Chelsea Green and then getting the pin on Sonya Deville, meaning that she is qualified officially for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Then the second Money in the Bank qualifying match later on in the night was Zoe Stark taking on Natalya. And yeah, this was a pretty clean win for Zoe Stark. It gave, you know, both of them a fairly decent showing, but Zoe did get a comfortable win there. And it basically confirms that both Becky and Zoe Stark will be heading to Money in the Bank in the Money in the Bank ladder match. We said it on yesterday's show. There wasn't really, you know, much doubt about it. It was quite obvious heading in. But David, what did you think about these two matches?
I mean, it's incredible how easy predictable booking is to predict. There was nothing to these really. I thought the Becky and Sonya was a bit more fun, mainly because I thought the MVP of the match was Chelsea Green, who took some horrid bumps into the barricade. Please don't kill yourself, Chelsea. We love you. But you know, good showing for Becky. You know, gets the win, gets a fairly easy win. I thought Natalya and Zoe Stark was dreadfully boring. No fault of the workers, I suppose. They could have done some more interesting stuff. It was a bit of submission wrestling. The crowd, as I predicted yesterday, the crowd did not care, and the selling of Zoe's finish was a bit iffy. It was fine. It felt like nothing, and especially given that I thought the women's tag match was really terrific on this show. that the actual Money in the Bank singles matches just didn't have the spark, because you knew who was going to win from the start, and they did nothing to kind of really sell you either way. Natalia never really looked like winning. Sonya never really looked like winning. So it's functional. The two right people went through. It was all right. Nothing to write home about. Like I said, boring second match. Not a lot to say really, but functional.
Yeah, I do agree there. It was functional. And yeah, the two right winners, Zoe Stark and Becky Lynch, will be continuing their feud going into Money in the Bank. But now let's talk about something which was a little bit more interesting. And that was the surprise dream match we had on Raw, with Gunther taking on Kevin Owens. And this match came about after Kevin and Sami were once again interrupted backstage by Imperium. And into the typical thing of, we didn't say your name, you're not meant to come out. And then Gunther challenged Owens. Sorry, Owens challenged Gunther. Owens then walked out to the ring, and then Gunther ended up following. And this was a really, really fun match. I'm gonna be honest, even though I had no issues with it, I don't think I, for some reason, enjoyed it as much as a lot of people did. I thought it was definitely a fun matchup, but I don't know why. I was like, yeah, that was a good TV match, but people are talking about it in the match of the year category on social media, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't quite see that. But Gunther controlled most of the match, and Owens kept fighting back. It was great to see this match on Raw, and Gunther got a victory via roll-up once Ludwig Kaiser got involved and distracted Kevin Owens. So it wasn't the clean finish or a dominating finish that we're used to with Gunther, but still Gunther got the win, perhaps a rematch down the road. However, after the match, Riddle was interviewed backstage and said Gunther wouldn't be champion if it wasn't for Imperium. And then the rest of Imperium, apart from Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci, interrupted, and Riddle took them out dominantly. So we're getting a bit more of an aggressive Riddle, it looks like. And yeah, Riddle versus Gunther, I think at Money in the Bank, and I'm certainly excited for this one. But Clark, what did you think about this match on Raw?
Well, first and foremost, we're now officially even. I stole your intro, and you stole my take about social media is wrong about this being match of the year. So it's 1-1. I'm kidding. This isn't Sunday Fun Day. But in all seriousness, I really enjoyed the way they set it up. I was shocked by how great of chemistry Imperium outside of Gunther, Ludwig, and Giovanni Vinci had in that promo segment last week and this week with Sami and Kevin. Ludwig deserves some credit. He does a great job with facial expressions and all of that. They made this match more exciting in that way. Match of the year, no way. It was a dream match that we knew Gunther would retain. And while the physicality was off the charts, I got to draw the line at it. We knew Kevin Owens couldn't win this match. We got to see the stunner. That was fun. But Kevin was never a true threat. He's too tied up in being an undisputed tag team champion. If this had been built, it was a brilliant surprise. And it was awesome. I enjoyed it out of the gates. But had this been built, then we can talk about it in the match of the year sense. But until then, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's a very valid point there. I mean, in fairness to me, it wasn't a title match. So, I mean, I guess you could say, there was a possibility Owens could win and it would lead to another match down the line. But you also are very right. The fact that he's so tied up in the tag team stuff that there's probably just not time for that. But it was nice to see, a surprise match like that on Raw. And it was certainly enjoyable. So I'm not going to complain too much about it. But now let's move on to the women's tag team division, where Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler made their first defense of the women's tag team championships, as Chase and Carter were interviewed on Raw, making their Raw debuts, and Ronda and Baszler interrupted them, leading to a match. And when I first heard this and saw this segment, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The women's tag team division is almost empty. And now you're you're finally calling up, one of the only actual tag teams from NXT, and you're gonna have them be squashed by Ronda and Shayna straight away. I was not happy about it at all. However, the match was great. It really, really was. And Chance and Carter looked really good, so I don't think it's going to hurt them long term. In hindsight, they had an amazing showing in it, and Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler actually looked quite good. If we can, get more matches like this with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler as champions, then this title reign could be a lot of fun. I'm interested to see where it goes from here. Maybe a rematch down the road because they did have good chemistry together. And I'd actually go as far to say it was one of the better television defenses for the women's tag team titles, at least in recent history. It really, really did surprise me, and I'm happy that it surprised me. But Drizzy, what did you think about this match?
They did this backwards. Yes, it was a great match. A little bit closer than what I thought it should be if Ronda and Shayna are as competitively the champions that they should be. But last week we crowned them champions. Am I correct? And this week,
Yes. Sorry.
so nigga, and now we're gonna go ahead and feed our brand new tag team that we just got up here to them. Like we're not gonna give them to I like to call them the Karen committee, uh, Sonya and Chelsea or anything. But we're gonna give them to the brand new hot upstarts that we need to build to keep going. So currently they have three tag teams, and I feel like this match kind of buried any chance that we had of building that tag team division back up. If they would have done this last week and then moved to crown champions this week, we're doing a little bit better. But this one, it just kind of seemed backwards as a match. I was happily surprised at how competitive that Ronda and Shayna and Katana and Kaden all were in this match. It was a close match, and I'll go say it's one of the better women's tag team matches they've had this in the last 2 or 3 years. They've It's like they have the pieces, but they just can't figure out how to put the puzzle together. I don't know what it's gonna take. This time they were just maybe weeks off from making it all fit together. Eventually, so hopefully next week they're gonna get it and it's gonna start rolling. It's gonna be a snowball rolling down a hill and it's gonna start gaining traction. I don't know what's gonna take for it to happen, but hopefully it does.
Yeah, you made some great, great points there. Uh, the fact that they did just, have somebody called up straight into a match of the tag team champions, it kind of does, kill a potential feud. But who knows? Maybe they could run it back, and at least they got a good showing, which I was happy about. As I'm going to be honest, I really thought it was going to be a squash when this segment first happened. I was worried about it. I mean, Drizzy, would you say there's anybody in the women's tag team division, though, who right now could be threats to, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler?
Yes, I do think that the unholy union,
Oh,
they may be that foil that can kind of pull this division together. Where we have the Karens and Sonya and Chelsea, we have Ronda and Shayna, we have Katana and Kaden, the Unholy Union. I think we get another two good tag teams. You have a solid division to fight for the next year.
yeah. No, I do agree that they're building the foundations up, and that's good. I just really hope they don't split up these newly, promoted tag teams from NXT because I'm okay with from time to time tag teams breaking up, but in the women's tag team division, that's all they've been. They've just been breakup after breakup after breakup after breakup. So I'm hoping now, especially with these newly called up teams from NXT, they just keep them together. Because the women's tag team division has so much potential, but it is yet to be utilized properly, as the booking has been quite weak for it at times. But now let's move on to another match, and another match which on paper is a little bit of a dream match, I guess you could say, and certainly a bit of a strange one. And that is Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Ricochet. Now, this was weird, right? And the crowd, I don't think, really knew who to root for because it was a strange face versus face match. The reason that it was happening is both men, of course, have qualified for Money in the Bank. So it made sense from, that perspective. But it was just a bit strange. There was no real reason for it. Like, it always comes down to, why should you care about this match? And it kind of felt like a lot of the fans didn't, minus the two, big pops. And of course, for what it was a fun match for a few minutes. Both men, they're great and all of that. But then out of nowhere, Bronson Reed came out, and he just took out both men completely. I'm not really sure where they're going with this at all, because Bronson Reed isn't qualified for Money in the Bank. Maybe he's going to win like a second chance match, although it looks like there's only going to be 6 men in the match. So unless they do that for one for Raw and one for SmackDown with just the two competitors who lost, which would be a bit weird, I'm a bit confused about this. Perhaps they're just building this feud for after Money in the Bank, but it's all just unnecessarily a bit confusing. But Bronson Reed is looking like a beast on television, so I'm not going to complain about it too much, because he does have a lot of potential. But this entire segment just felt a little bit weird to me, to be brutally honest. But David, what did you think about this?
I like this enough for what it was. I think sometimes we are allowed just good wrestling for good wrestling's sake, especially for a match that doesn't go very long. This only went, I think, about 5-6 minutes, if that even. I don't even know if it went that long with the Bronson murder. I'm trying to work out where they're going with Bronson as well. So obviously Bronson failed to qualify. I know they're trying to keep Bronson relevant, kind of, because you don't want to have him fail a Money in the Bank, especially with how strongly he's been kind of protected, and then have him fade into obscurity. I think there's one of 3 ways I think they go with this. Way number 1 is that he's in Money in the Bank and there's going to be a last chance qualifier, but I feel like I'd rather see, of the people who failed to qualify, I'd rather see Montez in that kind of match than Bronson. But option number 2 is that they're saving him for a feud afterwards, which, again, fine, but you can probably build that up after Money in the Bank. And number 3, I could see, now I don't necessarily know whether I want this to happen, but I could see a spot where Bronson comes in and just, like, in the Money in the Bank match and just ruins people, just because he can, because he's angry he's not in the match, so he's going to go out and ruin it, and just brutalize people, and then do the Omos spot where he gets buried under a bunch of ladders by a bunch of big moves, just to give an excuse to have a big guy to launch people into. I think that would be a silly thing to do, but this isn't necessarily what you want to happen, it's what you think might. And I could see that being a way of trying to keep Bronson relevant by having him basically throw a strop, which would be silly, but I think it could happen. But good wrestling, for good wrestling's sake, I'll never complain about. There was a very, very nasty looking knee that Nakamura gave to Ricochet. Ricochet kind of flew towards the ropes, and Nakamura caught him with the knee, which was really nasty looking and great. 2 good wrestlers doing good wrestling. The Bronson stuff I could kind of see come in to keep both guys strong. It was a shame because the match was fun for what it was. But again, like I said about the first match, it's functional to show off your 2 guys for Money in the Bank. But it was a slightly strange match, and I agree the crowd didn't really know who to root for. So yeah, fun enough stuff.
I feel like you've just predicted what's going to happen to Money in the Bank. Oh gosh, yeah, they're so going to do this Bronson running, aren't they? It's like they've done it. They have done a similar thing before. I can't remember who it was with, but somebody ran in and they just weren't in the match.
Brock Lesnar, when he won the damn thing.
Oh yes, that's right. It's crazy. You can't just come in out of nowhere and just win it.
Austin Theory as well. He won in the match either.
That's right. It wasn't supposed to be.
I think Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt did it too.
Bronson just going to enter himself into the match, take out everybody, then get taken out, like you said. And it's just like, that's some Vince-like booking right there. I hope we're wrong about that. But David, that is a very good prediction from you there. And I do have a feeling you might, unfortunately, be bang on. I know I'll be booing in that arena if that does happen, despite the fact I love Bronson Reed. It's just that is some bad booking. But now let's move on to Miz TV. And Cody Rhodes was the special guest on this week's edition. And Rhodes revealed that Brock Lesnar won't be back for a while. I'm going to be honest, I think he'll probably be back after Money in the Bank, because I can't see him not being at SummerSlam. But yes, he's not. The match seemingly isn't happening at Money in the Bank. But then Dominic Mysterio was invited out by The Miz, and the crowd just hated Dominic. He's so over as a heel right now. It's brilliant. I'm kind of presuming Dominic will be taking on Cody next week in like a Money in the Bank qualifying match, the final one perhaps. That would make a lot of sense. I love the line by Dominic where he I love the line by Cody where he told Dominic that he's got a worse prison tattoo than mine, and with a reference in his neck tattoo. That was brilliant. And then Dominic compared Cody to Rey Mysterio and called him a deadbeat dad, that line which Dominic just loves to use. Rhea Ripley was kind of just standing there, and then Dominic got a cheap shot on Cody. And I'm kind of just sitting here wondering, Rhea Ripley is the SmackDown on Raw Women's Champion, which I hope they're going to rename this belt soon. But that's another story for another day. We won't get into that right now. But why doesn't Rhea have a feud at the minute? Like she does kind of feel right now like she's just a side to Dominic, which is crazy, especially as she's the women's champion on that brand. It's very, very weird to me. But this segment itself was a lot of fun. It really was. And I'm excited to see Cody versus Dominic. I'm presuming next week in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. But Clark, what did you think about this segment? And I guess the more important question is, do you have any issues with what Cody Rhodes wants to talk about this week?
So, Ben, what do you want to talk about? I think we all know my feelings on Cody. You didn't even say The Miz more than like one time, and that's unfair. The Miz is the man, and he was great in this segment. Controlled the whole segment. Let's get into Cody. So, the most ample replacement for Brock Lesnar in this one is it's going to be Dominic Mysterio. That's where we're at. We've got Dom stepping in for Brock to have a match, and we're going to set that up in some way. Like, what? And then Cody against Dom still has to use his cast? Why? He's a babyface. I mean, couldn't he hit him with a crossroads? Or like, one of his moves? Why's he got to use the cast? Doesn't that seem like a heel to you? He's got to use the big metal thing attached to his forearm to knock out Lil Dom Mysterio.
In fairness, it wasn't Dom he knocked out, was it? It was
he knocked out Miz.
Miz. I'm sorry, Miz. Knockout Miz. Either way. I mean, former WWE champion, guy main evented at WrestleMania, and either way, he's got a better resume than Dom does. That's for sure. And it took a big metal cast for Cody to defend himself. I get he's got a broken arm, but it's covered. And so Brock's gone for a while, and then when he gets back, what's he gonna break the cast again? The other arm? Maybe just, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand how Cody coming out of this is now more of a babyface, being stuck in a pseudo storyline with Dom Mysterio, who's a non-threat to him after he just fought. If the story we're telling is that Brock Lesnar fought Cody One-Arm Rhodes, last week, Dominic Mysterio should be a non-threat. With a metal weapon attached to Cody Rhodes, he should beat Dom Mysterio. Without it, with the broken arm itself, with one arm, I think Cody could beat Dom. I don't know what we're doing here, and I can't figure it out.
Could Cody do anything right, Clark, for you?
Eventually, yes, but if you're going to be the ultimate babyface, then be one.
Yeah. No, I mean...
he's not an anti-hero in any way. He's not like the counterculture type babyface. He's not the... No, he's trying to be the traditional, the old trope, the old cliche white meat babyface, and that's not how he acts. He just KO'd a guy with a metal weapon.
Has Cody
That's a talk show host.
Has Cody ever done anything face-like, though?
That's
true. What throws me. I don't get it.
Even in AEW, I don't think he did anything face-like. Yes, the fans love him. He's got them brainwashed. It's in your
Yeah.
heads, guys. It's in your heads, guys. You gotta
Thank
drink
you,
the water.
Drizzy.
You gotta drink the
Oh my
water.
God, I get Drizzy on the screen. Thank you, Drizzy. I've got it.
I would just like to point out for balance that I thought Cody was great in this segment. I'm just going to say it, and then we'll move on. I won't start an argument because we got stuff to get on to.
No
I
worries.
thought Cody was great.
David drunk the water.
I think Cody's gotten too much hate throughout this entire thing, but I do agree. if in the match, I'm not going to complain about it now, right? Because him using the cast on the Miz was, just being the, a-hole that he is. So I didn't have an issue with, Cody hitting him with the cast and getting a pop. I had no issue with that. If next week he needs the cast to beat Dominic Mysterio, I'll agree with both of you, Drizzy and Clark, completely. But this week, I have no issue with him at all. We got a couple of comments here. Firstly, Bailey going, Rhea Ripley really needs to interact with the women's division. Completely agree there. And we've got Anthony Manzano saying, I'm getting tired of this whole storyline with Dominic already. The way he's being portrayed is he can't stand up for himself and Rhea has to do everything for him. I'm going to be honest. It's entertaining. It's gotten him over. I don't have an issue with it yet. Long term, it's going to get old. But that's a debate for another day. And it does raise, a good question because long term it could get old. I don't think we're there quite yet. But they need to do something with Rhea. They do. Oh, now let's talk about something else. And let's talk about... Oh, wait a second. We got Laurie Taylor as well in the comments.
With the baby bottle for Cody.
Clark, did your entire family just hate Cody?
We don't hate him. We don't hate him. Just do better. We know how talented he is.
But no, shout out there, Laurie Taylor. But now let's move on to the tag team match where Industry took on Cedric Alexander and Sheldon Benjamin. And why they never put the Hurt Business back together is something that I'll never know. Right? I won't. But anyway, they didn't put the Hurt Business back together, and now it's just Cedric and Shelton just teaming and as jobbers basically, and it's really unfortunate and annoying because they're great. And this match never started. Industry took them out before it even happened. But Industry alongside Jinder Mahal really do feel like a big deal. They do. I think they have potential, but the question is, could they really be the next top tag team? What do you think, Drizzy?
They are the next top tag team. This entire group, we need to give the whole group a name. Indusher will be tag team champions. We have to stop trying to hinder Jinder because he will be in a main event for a world title. Listen to my words exactly. This match hurt my heart so much because as much as I do enjoy Indusher, I hate seeing this happen to Cedric and Shelton. They deserve so much better. I would love for Cedric to get like another singles run. Shelton could be a mentor. But the match did, well, if you want to call it a match, it served its purpose. It instilled that, hey, tag team division, we are a force that's coming and we're coming hard. We're coming fast. We're coming at you and Kevin Owens, Sammy, be on the lookout because those are two. I was just really looking at them. Those are really big guys, and nobody else in that division is standing up to them. I think we made a comparison a couple of weeks ago. They're about the size of a AOP, and when they get those belts, it's as strong as they've made them look. It's gonna be hard to get those belts off them because it's a fact. It's gonna happen. They're gonna get those belts. In fact, put me down on the books now. They are gonna be the ones that take the belts off Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Wow. Okay. Well, Bailey agrees with you over in the comments over on YouTube as he is saying they should be in contention to beat Zayn and Owens for the titles as well as they're so awesome. But yeah, I really hope you're right, Drizzy, because they've got a lot of potential and I really do hope they're used well. I'm going to be honest, there's been people in, similar positions before, such as AOP, actually. That's a good example, who should be these top stars, and they just haven't ended up being them. I'm a bit worried about that, but of course, there's a new regime now, and hopefully they get the push that they deserve, because on this main roster, they really do feel like stars. They do, and I'm really happy for them. And Jinder Mahal doing a great job. I would not mind seeing Jinder, have another shot for the title at some point, either either, Drizzy. But I think a lot of people disagree with us, unfortunately, there. But let's not get into Jinder Mahal right now. Instead, let's get into the main event, which was a World Heavyweight Championship match with Seth Rollins defending against Damian Priest of the Judgment Day. On Monday Night Raw last night, it opened with a great promo by Seth Rollins that builds up the main event well before, Damian Priest interrupted alongside Finn Balor. Rollins joked about Balor being there for no reason, and for the rest of the promo, Finn Balor just got roasted. Raw last night was just the roast of Finn Balor. That's what it was. Finn was not happy. And then Seth Rollins basically said, if you're so good, Damian, you shouldn't need you guys out here tonight. Finn Balor should be kept in the back. And Finn Balor starts saying, no, we're doing what we want, blah, blah, blah. And Damian Priest goes, oh, no, it's all right, Finn. I don't need you. I'm all good. And the look on Finn Balor's face, he was not happy. Then the match itself was great. As expected, Damian Priest and Seth Rollins, great match. But then Balor got involved late on in the contest. And that wasn't why Damian Priest lost, right? Balor did help Rollins, but it wasn't enough in the end. And Damian Priest kind of distracted himself by getting upset with Balor for interrupting. And in the end, Seth Rollins got that victory. The question from you is, what happens with the Judgment Day? Because they're clearly having these tensions now between Damian Priest and Finn Balor, and it looks like it's going to be Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins in London at Money in the Bank, which I'm not complaining about. We did just see it for, not for the title in the tournament, so I'm kind of a bit early to see it again, but it's London, a lot of people from Ireland will be there, will make the short flight over. But it's a weird one. And the even weirder thing is, JD McDonough wasn't even on Raw. We haven't seen him now in a couple of weeks. And of course, at first we saw, Balor following McDonough around, and we were like, well, this is interesting. I posted on WrestlingRepublic.com a couple of weeks ago a fantasy article about how they could do the McDonough-Balor thing. But it seems that story, at least for the time being, is off. And that's really unfortunate. I have a feeling they're going to break up the Judgment Day, and I'm not happy about that at all. It's not broken. Why do you need to fix it? It's more over. They finally got it over. They finally got the faction over, and now there's tensions in it already. I don't like this storyline. I feel like it's way, way too early for there to be tensions there. I mean, they beat the tag team champions a couple of weeks ago. Why didn't that go any further? Why didn't they get a tag team shot, right? And this is my issue with this. Yes, it was a great match, and I'm glad to see the title defended on Raw. But the Judgment Day, a couple weeks ago, we were praising them for the first time as a unit and saying, no, they all look good now. They just, Dominic's over. Rhea Ripley is SmackDown Women's Champion on Raw. And Balor and Priest are both looking very, very good. And now they've just bottled it. It's frustrating. Clark, tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Okay, I want to point out one thing that I loved from the initial promo. And the initial promo told me this is getting broken up well before the match happened. It's time. Priest, the dissension between Priest and Balor made great sense. Seth pointing at Balor's shoulder, poking him in the torn shoulder, was amazing. That was the moment of that initial promo to me. That's the rivalry down the line we need to build to. And I loved your article you wrote about how to build McDonough and Balor. But I had another idea. What if Dom, Ripley, and Priest stay together? Balor builds with McDonough, and then maybe you add one more. And that's how you build back to Balor challenging Seth in a billboard-worthy match, not a match on Raw, not a random one, a full-blown rivalry. He builds his stable the way that he talked about the numbers game, Seth did. And I'm not trying to change the subject on the Judgment Day thing, but the way Seth did, it doesn't have to be Judgment Day that are the numbers. JD McDonough can be a part of that numbers. Add a few others. No problem. Do the split along the way, and then we build towards a legitimate rematch from the inaugural Universal title match between Seth and Finn. That's the only positive I can take from this. I completely see what you presented too, Ben. I agree. We finally care about Judgment Day. I was as critical of Judgment Day as anybody can be. They're all over. But are they over as a faction or are they over individually? That would be what I would toss back. Because I think Ripley's over individually. I think Dom's over individually. I think Priest has gotten more over individually. But it's not the Judgment Day. It's the single stars within. I think the person who's been hurt the most by the Judgment Day storylines and activity is Finn Balor.
I
and replacing Edge on paper, in hindsight, it's unfathomable that we would get to a spot like this. That was unpredictable a year and a half ago when it happened, 2 years ago. I don't know where we go from here, but I would like to see better.
The one thing I will disagree on is I feel like Priest, Dominic, and Rhea as a trio, I feel like together that it has really helped them. But to your point, it hasn't necessarily helped Balor. So maybe keeping them as a trio could be a good move. It's just then it kind of feels like Damian Priest is third wheeling Dom and Rhea. That's the only issue that you'd have.
See, I feel like he can be the enforcer, and then you have the tag thing.
True.
And then you eventually build to a Priest and Dom singles match. But for the time being, you can have them in the tag division working. He's the real enforcer, and then Rhea's like, wait a minute, you're the only one not pulling your weight, Dom. We're both protecting you all the time. There's a storyline there to be told.
Maybe Rhea and Damian get together instead, and that's what happens.
If you want to tell that story, it's on the table as well.
You just booked it, Clark. Maybe you've just booked it bang on there. And yeah, I mean, also on Raw this week, it was revealed that Rhea Ripley is now the most followed active WWE superstar, which is
that's awesome.
I've been saying for weeks now about how she's becoming more of a mainstream name. And the statistics now are proving that. But David, what
deservedly so, by the way, before you toss it.
Absolutely. But David, what were your thoughts on the Seth Rollins and Damian Priest match and the entire situation last night?
I'll start with your sort of points on the Judgment Day split. I'm willing to let it play out. I am having more faith in WWE with their storytelling. Recently, I think back to the Edge betrayal when Balor when Edge got turned on by Judgment Day in one of the most nonsensical segments I have ever watched on television. It's worked out brilliantly for them all, but I watched that live and I had my head in my hands going, this makes no sense. I have more faith in them now to kind of tell a good story, especially when we have McDonough. I feel like Judgment Day is kind of split into two factions now. We kind of have Priest and Finn doing their own thing, and then Rhea and Dom doing their own thing, and they don't always come together kind of into one sort of complete faction. They are occasionally, but it does feel kind of like two separate split points right now. So I'm interested to see where they go. I'll say I thought the match was terrific. Personally, even as one of Gunther's, I think Gunther's best wrestler in the world, I preferred Seth and Damian to Gunther and Owens as a main event match. I thought it was built great. I think Priest is such a terrific wrestler. I think Seth is a brilliant seller. I'm kind of saying stuff that we already know. The buckle bomb spot was great. The whole selling stuff with the injury, it was brought up in the promo and then paid off in the match later in the night, which is great stuff. Thought Finn acted this really well. I thought they all acted it great. I do have one complaint, and it concerns the promo. We talked a lot about Cody being, Clark thinking Cody was a bad babyface earlier in the show. I found Seth a little bit insufferable in the opening promo. He was great. The lines he had was great. The lines Priest had was great. It's when you take the mick out of somebody's the fact that you injured somebody and then dance off going, ha, 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 like the Joker, doing a little floppy dance while Balor looks on sad because he realizes that he only had a day with the title. It doesn't, to me, that makes me want to root for Balor more than it makes me want to root for Seth. Now, I know Seth is a very different face because he is an uber charismatic kind of, but I don't feel like his character has really evolved that much from heel Seth into face Seth. It's just the crowd cheer him now.
Yeah.
He can be terrific as a babyface. I thought him coming down from the crowd last week was so great. Him having the selfie and all of those things, brilliant stuff. But it's just that line rubbed me out the wrong way. So I kind of hope they play into that a little bit with Balor. If they're gonna do Balor versus Rollins at Money in the Bank, which I feel like is where they go in, they could play a little bit into that sort of injury storyline and kind of maybe we see that brought up as a way to kind of cast doubt onto Seth as he is a kind of a morally divisive figure. But I thought the rest of it was great, and like I said, I thought it was the match of the night. I thought it was really, really terrific stuff and brilliant.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you there. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't have an issue with that line by Seth because I'm just glad that they've not suddenly made him into a nice guy now. Seth's evolution, I talked about it last week in the podcast, his evolution, his character evolution has made a lot of sense. He's basically gone insane because he wanted to be the top guy and he didn't end up being the top guy. He wanted to be loved by fans. He wasn't loved by fans. And he just went, insane. And now the fans are loving him again, but he's too far gone. And I'm glad they're not just, turning him into a babyface. They're letting the fans just do whatever they want to do. But Dryzzy, what about you? What did you think about the main event?
The match, top tier, great. I agree with you. I prefer this match to instead of Kevin and Gunther, just because you knew what you were getting with that one. This one, for a little bit, they kind of had me thinking, "Oh my God, are they gonna let Damian do this?" But this was Damian Priest's coming out party in the main event. They gave him the Bad Bunny match. He's like, "Oh, we might have something here," and now they've gotten to Seth. You know what? Let's see what we got here with him. If it was just a one time thing, or they might have some real chemistry where this is it. Um, a great match, absolutely stunning. I do believe the Judgment Day is gonna break up, but I didn't think it's gonna be a Finn turning. I think that they're just gonna break up altogether. I think Judgment Day is gonna cease to exist. And it is gonna be Finn and McDonough and then Rhea and Dame will be his own thing, his own entity. And now the Seth. Seth Rollins, history has shown Seth can't be a face. The fans won't allow it. So he's gonna always be this evil Joker. Never expect to see face Seth ever again. He is gonna be the Joker for life. So Joker, in Joker fashion, hey, I broke your shoulder. I messed your shoulder up. Ha ha ha. Dance off like an evil old timey villain. It's just we're gonna have to get used to that because this version of Seth will never be face.
Mm. Yeah, no. I mean, Drizzy, I do agree with you there. I mean, the normal just complete babyface Seth Rollins, it doesn't get over. It's failed. It's actually failed. It failed in Ring of Honor too.
Mhm.
It just doesn't feel like him. He's too good as a heel, right? So yes, fans, because he's so good as a heel, end up rooting for him all the time. But then once he turns back to a face, they turn on him, and it's the same kind of cycle, which is why I like now that he's gone insane about it. He wanted to become champion the right way. He decided to go about it the right way, and then the fans turned on him, and all this. I like the storyline evolution, and I do think there's probably more of a story to be told long term. They probably will develop the character still, but in terms of the normal babyface Seth, I probably wouldn't go into that again unless it's right at the end of his career. But that basically brings us to the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're over on YouTube, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you're over on Spotify, a 5-star and a follow. It's so appreciated. We'll be back here tomorrow, the same time as today, to preview tomorrow night's AEW Dynamite, where Tony Khan has another announcement, this time about Collision. We'll be getting into all of that and debating it tomorrow. I'm absolutely certain about it. But thank you, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your night.